All right, Kate, I'll let you then go ahead and introduce Amanda and ask a few questions about Cruise for Good.
Yeah, no, and thank you all for these questions. They're great, and I actually think everything that I shared was gathered over talking to members, and we're constantly learning. We're learning every single day, not just about better strategies to do this, but also different ways to have an impact. And so I'm thrilled that Amanda's here because she is the one doing this every day. So she will have way more insight into and answers. And Amanda and her team recently launched Cruise for Good, which is their impact program. And we're just thrilled to have her here to share a little bit more. So thank you, Amanda. So to start, Amanda, can you just tell us a little bit about Cruise for Good? You know, what it is, what your goals are, some background to it?
Yes, I think I might have Amanda muted, which is unfortunate. Let me see if I can find her quick.
Okay, second time's a charm. Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much for having me. I'm Amanda Lenigan, head of social impact and community engagement at Cruise, which is a self-driving car service based in San Francisco. And I have to say, Kate, I know we were on multiple calls together, and I feel like everything that you just shared in terms of your resources and recommendations absolutely was shared with me, and we followed to the best of our ability for our launch. So I'm happy to share kind of what our case study looks like, if that's helpful to you all. But overall, I'm just really grateful for the Pledge 1% community and the movement that really creates this easy mechanism through which, like, it was very clear to our leadership that there was a way to commit our resources. And in our case, it's joining the builder movement and also committing 1% of our product in terms of our autonomous vehicle to our communities and social impact. And I think as being in an emerging sector, it's even more important because we have the chance to build from the start a new technology, a new way of influencing change in our communities. And hopefully we can also, you know, be a part of doing that for our industry and our peers. So appreciate the opportunity and all the guidance that you've given us.
No, and I'm just curious, when, well, why, and also when did you decide to take the pledge, like during this process as you were planning the program?
Yeah, so we are a relatively early stage company. Cruise is focused on building the world's most advanced self-driving vehicles. And that's a new thing, right? So you don't see these in your neighborhoods every day. But it's important to the company because we really envision a safer transportation system that's better for the environment, more accessible. And so core to our mission is this concept of how do we ensure that everyone in our communities really benefit from the access and connection that this new form of transportation can provide. And so when we think about social impact and how that can play a role, to me, it's a natural extension of our core mission. And the opportunity to formally join Pledge 1% really came as a result of the pandemic. So at the height of the pandemic, or when things really, I guess not at the height, at the beginning, which was last, March, we, a couple of weeks into shelter in place, heard from our local food bank that there was a huge surge in need from individuals who were primarily homebound because of their increased risk of not being able to go to the food bank. So serving low-income seniors and meeting that increase in demand was a challenge. At the same time, we had a fleet of autonomous vehicles available and not being used or not being tested throughout the city. So almost overnight, in a couple of weeks, we were able to join the San Francisco Marin Food Bank's effort, along with another nonprofit, SF New Deal, to really help them think about scaling their deliveries from a few hundred families to about 12,000 individuals a week. And so we basically repurposed our fleet for that. And out of that partnership, so now we've delivered over 1.4 million meals since last spring. That created the case and the example of like, how do you create a positive impact on your community? How can autonomous vehicles be something that really produce value right away to those who need us most? And so my job was really to capture that and communicate the opportunity that we had to solidify this as a core part of our mission and DNA as an emerging company and industry. So a couple months into this, we made the case to leadership who, to our credit, to the leadership's credit at Cruise, and also to the credit of the nonprofits that we've partnered with, there was just a lot of trust in building those relationships and transparency and wanting to continue to serve our communities. So making the commitment to pledge 1% and formalizing that commitment, I feel like that was more of putting a bow around what was already happening. But I think that the value in doing that is now, as we see, recovery and we think about moving to other markets, our commitment is now baked in. So now the conversation is not how we engage in the communities. It's really, where do we go next, right? What else can we do? So hopefully that's helpful, but it really was an organic kind of crisis response that came about, that we were able to translate into a longer term kind of strategic commitment for our company.
Yeah, it's been very exciting to watch and to hear all about the impact that you've had, and especially over the past year. And you recently had a very exciting announcement to share all that you're doing. Can you speak a little bit more to that, like what the planning process was, how you share that you're a Pledge 1% member and that you are formalizing this program?
Absolutely, and it's thanks to this partnership and the thought leadership and partnership from your team and advice that you also gave, Kate, that we shaped our announcement. But really, we wanted our launch to center around ensuring that our stakeholders and community understand who we are and that we're dedicated to not only safely connecting people through this new form of transportation, but ensuring that everyone in our community benefits from the emerging technology. So our objectives were building visibility for our partners in this movement, establishing Cruise as a committed, leader in our communities, and also creating pride and momentum internally around this. And I think the tactics for what we ended up doing, which followed your advice, was centering on an event. So we had an event for our formal announcement hosted with Axios, and it included the Secretary of Transportation and the San Francisco Marin Food Bank CEO, as a part of a broader conversation around the future vision for transportation equity and how emerging industries can really meet community need. And I think that grounded our commitment in a much larger conversation, which was an important one to have and to continue. But then tactically, we also did a blog from our CEO, and you all reposted that on your, Pledge 1% platform. We created some assets, including our a video, which really elevates our nonprofit partners' voices, and some other assets like the one I'm debuting here. We have internal Zoom backgrounds for all of our employees, LinkedIn headers, just some easy, fun ways for everyone to adopt this commitment and really feel that sense of pride as an employee and hopefully as a future recruit as well. That, this is certainly something we want to lead others in our industry towards, but it is differentiating for Cruise at this time. So we hope that, our future talent is attracted to this aspect of our mission and this commitment that we've made as well.
Yeah, that's great. And did you find any of those steps like particularly powerful, or is there any tip that you have for a member who's looking about how to announce and share their program?
I think internally it was powerful to do a preview with employees. So we did an all hands and they got to see under the cover of, what we were hoping and planning to unveil first. I didn't know about the Pledge 1% Yetis, so I would have included that. But I think having your employees really be included can be meaningful, and in some cases for you all customers as well. I think externally, I've found it really valuable to have the nonprofit partner voice be a part of our launch. I think in our case, the leadership at San Francisco Marin Food Bank can really speak most powerfully to what this commitment means for our local community and paint the picture for why this is important. And ultimately, that's who we're looking to serve and elevate anyway. So I think we can talk all we want about strengthening pathways, delivery and transportation pathways for nonprofits, but if you're able to bring in the partner voice, I think that's powerful. And I did, even though it was more work, I think the events model creates a moment in time to rally around. So that allowed us to line up all of our other, video launch and the whole campaign around our external launch, all centered on that moment and those voices that we brought together across sectors to talk about these issues and how we were committing. So that's more than one moment that was powerful, but I do think your tips early on, we followed fairly closely and were valuable for us.
Yeah, and that event and launch moment, that was a great moment for us too. We were so excited to see everything build up to that and to be able to share and to celebrate with you. So it really does, it can be work, but it also has, the Pledge 1% program also means making sure that you're pausing and reflecting on the values and all that you're doing. And you guys did a really great job with that with your announcement. Final question, because I'm sure other people have questions for you, is just if you had one tip or piece of advice, especially for people who are just kind of thinking through what to do, what would that be?
That's a tough one because I'm still so early in this journey. And I would say activating your leadership and CEO voice is something that I learned from your movement and the equity commitment. So that's something that's powerful for us because I think when you have that level of leadership committed and speaking about this, it really becomes ingrained and owned by the company.